Welcome to Wisdom Within with Tina and Tonya. We have got a super great episode for you today. We're really recognizing how many of us, myself included, have been living in our heads. We're overthinking, we're overdoing, we're feeling scattered, and there's just a lot going on. And we're really going to help you learn how to bring yourself back into your body, your breath, and your presence using the element of earth as well as the spirit of earth, Mother Earth, Gaia. So we've got a great episode for you today. So before we dive in, we want to introduce ourselves in case you're new to our world. I'm Tonya and I work with women who are experiencing a spiritual shift. They feel called towards something greater, but they're struggling with second guessing and self doubt, trusting themselves, and I guide them to fully embrace their power and step into their next level. And Tina, will you introduce yourself as well?
Hi, I'm Tina, and I guide women to deepen their spiritual connection through simple rituals, gratitude practices, and elemental wisdom, helping them to weave sacred spirituality into everyday life with ease and meaning.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's jump into this and really talk about why reconnecting with Mother Earth and the earth element matters, especially right now. What are some thoughts that you have about that?
So, just what you said earlier about us, so many of us living in our heads, right? We're always overthinking, we're overdoing, we're overprocessing, we're just constantly, and we have technology which keeps our brains going, which really, our brains aren't meant to have that much information coming in. And so we're just constantly spinning. And so when we can connect with that earth energy, when we can get outside and connect in whatever way that you can connect, it helps us to be more present, help brings us right back into our bodies, it grounds us. And what grounding is just that, bringing us into our body fully and helping us to um, be, just here in fully in our body. Because a lot of times another thing that happens with us is we live outside of our bodies. We're kind of floating up above our body energetically, right? And when we can go outside and touch the earth, and that it helps to ground us with our electromagnetic field. It just kind of grounds that and helps us to pull that energy back into our bodies.
Mhm. I love that. I love the way that you worded that. And I feel too that this is a time I feel it in myself, but I also see it in my clients and I see it in conversations with friends as well. But it's a time of stress, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I've been explaining to you, so I'm going to share this with everyone else about how I'm having all of these aha moments and insights and awarenesses of ways in which I've been creating my own stress. And it's very interesting because it's disguised. The world wants us to be very busy and very productive
Mm-hmm.
and get shit done, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I am caught up in that just as much as everybody else, even though I do all these practices not to be it's part of how we are and who we are, right? But I recognize how I'm creating more stress and becoming more scattered and ungrounded by trying to do too many things, and it disguises itself as productivity. I'm getting so many things done, I'm checking so many things off my list, but what I'm really not doing is allowing myself to check in and allowing myself to go inward. And even things like I have these to-do lists, I have these things I need to get done. Going to get cat food,
Mm-hmm.
it's a priority for me today, but I make it a stress by trying to fit it in this little window that I really don't quite have enough time for. And luckily I caught myself and I didn't do that this morning, but I was really even trying to fit it in as I'm getting ready for the day and trying to rush so that I have time. And I was really in that space of overthinking, over planning. And I know that I'm becoming more and more ungrounded. I could hear, even as I was telling you about this,
Mm-hmm.
I could even hear the anxiety, not anxiety, but anxiousness and a little bit of stress in my voice. I was talking very quickly. I was
Mm-hmm.
instead of like allowing myself to even complete the conversation in a more slowly grounded way. And that's, we're in that. as a collective, we're in this time of stress where we're over, like you mentioned with technology. And one of the beautiful things of technology is it has made the doing a lot easier, right? There's not as much physical labor. Like we have factories and machines and we have all these things that do all the things for us. But as a result, we're filling our time more and more and more, and this stress, and we're in time of transition. I mean, our entire country and the world itself is at a time of
Mm-hmm.
transition, which creates instability and feeling ungrounded. We're having spiritual growth. I work with quite a few clients who are having spiritual shifts and changing the way they view the religion or the way that they were raised, and they're separating from that. And again, we feel ungrounded. And it's easy to say ungrounded because we understand what that means, but it shows up scattered, flighty, jittery, nervous, anxious,
Mm-hmm.
unsure. Like that's kind of what we have feeling in our body, what comes up from a lot of those transitions, especially as quickly as they're happening right now. It feels like the pace is quickened with all of that.
Quickened. Definitely. I agree.
Mm-hmm. And that earth energy, coming back to the earth, can really help ground us. It can provide that steady support. It can help us slow down and use
Yes.
that pocket of time to not fill it with more shit that doesn't have to be done right in that moment. Just allow yourself to slow your pace, to have that get there a few minutes early, like all those different things that can come into it in that slow, calm, steady support that we get from the earth.
Mm-hmm. And there's, yeah, there's so much to um, connecting with the earth and her wisdom, her, all of what she offers us, um, that we, and it's so easy to connect. So, um, we could, a simple meditation, just kind of like what you just said, just helping yourself to calm down and connect in. And so, there's so much to that. And the earth just offers so much, in the form of stability, nourishment, our home. She's like um, the place where all of the animals, all of the everything, we all live here. She offers our, she feeds us. She gives us water. She gives us food. She gives us all of the things. And um, so when we can connect to that, and it helps us to slow down and be in that. And as you were talking earlier, I was thinking about um, how when I first moved here into this house, and it's been 5 years ago, I hadn't realized it. We've already been here 5 years. It was in June of 2020 we moved here. And at the time, 2020 was a fun year. And I needed it so bad. I had just come back from Texas. I was um, in the city in Texas, and it was the energy of the collective, especially in the city, was crazy. So when I got home or got here and we ended up moving into this house, I found myself slowing down and found myself just allowing and just loving being able to sit outside because, it was June. I was working in the garden. I was just connecting with the earth in such a deep manner that helped to ground me, and it helped me to let go of all that collective energy that I was storing in my body. Because I was in having panic attacks. I was all of the things. And it just, I was thinking how peaceful that felt as you were talking about the stress. And I was thinking about how peaceful that felt, and how in the past couple of years I've let that go. I'm still connecting to the earth, um, and still going out and doing my practices, but they weren't they I don't even know how to explain it. I still had I was in the space of adding all the other stresses in too. So I would add all these other stresses in, and then I'm going out to nature to calm myself. And that's what I would that's how I calm myself is to go out and do, my anybody who follows me knows I do little mandalas, or I do little earth altars or whatever, and so that was always that's been my way of soothing. I guess it's like kind of a self-soothing, I guess. It's kind of like how I go out and soothe that all that extra energy that I have, that it's causing, when I start getting stressed. And in the past 2 or 3 years, I've noticed that I've allowed myself to be in that stress. And I was just thinking about how peaceful I was in 2020 when all the shit was going on. And then I've allowed myself the last couple of years to step into that stress. And so I'm like, this last couple of weeks, I've been, especially the last week, I was like sitting outside connecting with the earth and was like, yep, I need to get back to doing this. So,
This is what I was missing,
anyway,
kind of that feel
yep,
of that.
yep,
Well, because it does, it brings a sense of safety. It brings that sense of nourishment. It brings that sense
hmm
of peace. And there's just so much to it that it really does. So let's talk a little bit about what the earth and the earth symbolizes then, as we're kind of talking about some of
yeah,
this. We're leading right into that. So,
right.
thinking of, like you mentioned, our homes. I mean, the earth literally provides the stability for the foundation for our home. We know
hmm
that the foundation is the stable part that keeps our walls up, but it's the foundation under the foundation literally is the earth. So it's a very stabilizing, very nourishing home rootedness, like that whole physical needs that we have. Having a roof over our heads begins with the solid foundation underneath the earth. Um, Even our pace and our rhythm, it can be part of that. It can, like the heartbeat, the Schumann resonance, the feeling
hmm
of the earth and the energy that's there impacts us both energetically and physically in the physical world. Um, I know in the tarot, the earth element is represented through the pentacles, and it's all about family, nourishing, sustenance, careers, all of the earthly things that connect to our earthly needs. And so it's very much that energy and that vibe. What are some other things that you recognize with that?
Well, if you look at the root chakra, right, it's all about stability, all about grounding, all about being safe and nourished, and so yeah. And the earth is like, to me, she is the ultimate nurturer. So she is like she's the one who she's giving her all to us, right? And she's taking care of us. She's the ultimate mother figure. And maybe we should have added that into our mother wound one,
I was just
connect with
thinking about that
the,
with
connect,
how that was our last video was the mother
yeah,
wound, and yet how I do believe that the connecting with Mother Earth, with Gaia, is a huge way to help heal that mother wound.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And she teaches us how to be here fully. She helps us to she gives us so many lessons. If you sit outside and you listen, and it's not just the earth element, you're sitting outside and you're connecting with all of the elements, right? Because you have the wind coming, you have the water, and well, I do here. I can't say everybody gets that because you don't, but I get that because I have the river next to us. I have the earth element, I have the water element, we have the air, we have the wind. And so when we connect with the earth, she kind of holds all of that, right? And it's just, it's just all encompassing. And she just fills my heart. When we drum, that's the other thing, they talk about, like in the Native Americans or the indigenous peoples, when they drum, they talk about how the drum is the heartbeat of the earth, right? And it helps us to connect to the earth because we use that drum in a way of, well, for one, animal spirit is connecting, is also a part of the earth, right? And then two, the hoop is wood or tree, so that's another piece of the earth. And that heartbeat, we can, we have that steady heartbeat, that rhythm that we connect, and it helps us to connect to the earth in a deeper level. So it can help us to ground, but it can also help us to connect to the creator. um, but it's just that heartbeat. And so yeah, the earth, I don't know, I know I'm going all over the place with all this, so I need to slow down.
I love it. Well, it's our rhythm, right? Like what
Hmm.
you're saying with the heartbeat, it's the heartbeat, but it's also like that isn't something that we can also utilize with this energy of earth is finding our own rhythm
Hmm.
and the cycle that we're in. And I mean, when we think about the cycles with the seasons, and even the sun rises and sets, like everything in our life and our world is cyclical. And the earth is very much part of those cycles. And when we learn to flow with the earth and the energy and the cycles and create our own cycles and rhythm, that's part of what this is helping us to find our own heartbeat, find, connect with the heartbeat of the cosmos and with the earth and all the things. And so I feel like that's something else that I really resonate with it, because society wants us to have our own rhythm that
Hmm.
it's dictating, right?
Right.
It wants us to look a certain way and do it a certain way. And when we don't really, well, and we see how much sickness and poor health that has created. And so it's really not working for us in reality. And the collective is starting to know that. Everyone is starting to see that the way we've always been doing things are not leading to the golden outcome that we were led to believe, right?
Right.
And so people are looking for a different way of doing things. They're wanting to slow down their rhythm, but they don't know how. And that's what I love is that, you know, going camping or
Hmm.
just going outside, all those things of like slowing down, listening and finding your own rhythm is what people are really craving and feeling a lot of relief and success around when they're doing so.
Right. I saw that really a lot in 2020 when, everybody was being locked down. And this, where I live, there's some campgrounds up above me. And um, in 2020, this place got crazy. I mean, we had so many people up here all the time, and it has not stopped since then. Um, and so people are craving that connection with the earth. They're craving getting out in nature. They're wanting that slow down, although, they come up here and they're still running around and they're on their motorcycles or their side by sides or whatever, but they're still, sitting by the fire at night or whatever. And being outdoors, I think, is, uh, you know, when it's summertime, I'm working outside. I'll take my laptop and just sit outside and do my work because when it just gives that peace, that feeling of peace, and the slowing down is something that really is. I know I crave it. I need the slowing down, and I live a slow life anyway. But I love the peace that it brings when we're able to connect that intentionally like that. So.
I love it too. And I think that, what you've been describing and talking a lot about is really the spirit of Mother Earth,
Hmm.
of Gaia, and really how the energy that she carries is like the the archetype of the
Of the
divine
mother.
mother, the
Hmm.
mother that everyone wishes that they had and everyone wishes that they were, and all of those things, because it is very much that feeling of being held, of
Hmm.
everything's going to be okay.
Right.
When we're worried, when we're stressed, it's like there's a reason we say, go sit outside, put your bare feet in the grass. There's so much about that we forget or don't give credit to, or we say, oh, I can't do that because I don't want my feet to get dirty. I have tender
Hmm.
feet. Yeah, so what? Do it anyway.
Right.
you know,
Right.
um, it's not like you have to start walking barefoot everywhere you go. It just put your feet in the grass. And I do believe that there is a craving within the human body for nature. We look at how many, I mean, even I'm in a new space. I just, put in this new space or moved into this new office, and I have plants,
Hmm.
living, breathing, live plants that I've not been able to have before in this space. I have plants in my home. We have people who crave doing gardens and gardening work and getting outside and doing yard work. Like there is something within this that we feel driven to do. Even looking at all of the fake plants that are available, even seeing the cute like ivy things that people put to hang
Hmm.
in their rooms. People are naturally trying to bring earth indoors. So
Right.
there's something about that that innately we all know brings us peace, brings us happiness. You don't find an office building without a plant in it somewhere.
Right.
There is something about that that we as humans have an innate understanding that we want to connect with something that is bringing in elements of the earth.
Hmm.
And that alone is reminding us to tap into our intuition. It's helpful for all these different reasons. Let's take advantage of it, especially now that the weather is beautiful. Um, but trusting that internal wisdom that we have, that wisdom within, that's saying, you know, yes, bring the outside in, but don't neglect taking yourself outside either with
Right.
all of this.
Right. And I mean, we are part, our bodies are made up of the minerals and we need those minerals from the earth. We need that to survive, right? And so we are part of her. And so I feel like that is probably one of the reasons why we are always so drawn to be a part of her, to be outside, to do those things, to bring the plants inside, to be connected with her in some way, because we are a part of her, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. I love it. And really thinking of some of the other energy that she brings.
mhm.
She holds our grief.
Yes.
We can go outside and have before. And I remember one time my middle son was upset and I found him outside.
Mhm.
It was something he needed to just get outside. And there is I mean, here it is again, right? That calling, that hunger to just be outside. He was standing outside and just having his moment out there, and just how there is a feeling of being held with
And
that,
yeah.
you know.
And that's kind of what I was saying about how it soothes me every time I go outside. It soothes. And I created altars outside. I love doing the altars outside, and I created this my ancestor altar outside, and during the winter I brought it inside and it just was not the same. And to me it needs to be outside, and I don't know, I and I think it could be just that part of it, that it is in the bones of the earth, that the ancestor wisdom lives in the earth, right? And so to me, that's where my ancestors' um, wisdom comes from. And so every time I put it outside, and I take coffee outside to it every day, and that's where I feel it feels the best. Like I said, I tried it in here. I had it in here during the winter, and I would put the coffee out and it just didn't feel the same. But when I'm able to go outside and do that, it's just so much better. And then being able to go outside and do these sacred offerings to her, which I do on a regular basis. I'm offering tobacco, or I'm offering those little altars that I do. I call them mandalas because when I do them, they're always kind of in a mandala form, I guess, is, but they don't have to be, but they're just a little altar, and I'll take it out and I'll, if I have flowers, or if I find flowers, or if I just pick up sticks and I just create a little offering there, and, I make it look however it's going to look, and then I add my sacred herbs and sometimes salt or whatever it is that I have with me. Sometimes I offer food, sometimes because we have the all of the other little elements that live on the, you know, and so I offer food, or I offer whatever I have, a prayer, gratitude, all those things. And when I'm able to um, offer those things, I get so much back. I have that, it's that sacred exchange, right? I get more back than when I'm offering, because what comes back to me is that peace, that nurturing, that I know she's holding me. I know she's there for me. I know she's always um, feeding me, and she's taking care of me. And so when I'm able to connect in that way, then it's like it's it just brings so much into everything that I do.
Mm-hmm. Well, and as I'm hearing you talking, I'm hearing you really describe building an intentional relationship with the energy of the earth, with Mother
Yeah.
Earth.
Yeah.
And really, it's over time. I'm sure it didn't start that way. It's over time and showing up. And like you were saying, giving these little things and receiving in return and starting to notice, because I feel like that's a lot of times what we miss is the recognition of something sacred being built,
Hmm.
because we're doing the thing, right? I'm
Right.
going outside to put my feet in the grass because someone on Instagram told me grounding is good for me, right?
Right. Right.
It's things like we do that as humans. Someone said this is going to help me relieve stress, so I'm going to go stand outside. And I mean, yeah, please do.
Hmm.
That is a fabulous way to relieve stress.
Yes.
But we also have to be aware and intentional about the connection and the consistency and showing up again, not just to take, right? Because
Mhm.
all of those other things are beneficial, but we're in taking mode. I'm a taker.
Mhm.
I'm an energy sucker. And
Mhm.
it's I'm coming out because I can get something from you versus I'm coming out to have a mutual exchange, to share my grief, to share my joy, to share this beautiful mandala or this beautiful altar. Or I take, because I have a lot of coffee grounds,
Mhm.
weird. So I take dried coffee grounds, and I don't save all of them, but I save some of them. And I, once they're completely dry, I put them in a little baggie, and then I'll go outside and kind of sprinkle that on that's my giving back to earth. But it's an intention. I go out and sprinkle my little coffee grounds and, say hello to all of the animals outside and to the grass and to, I have a little small teeny yard, and I just love being able to sprinkle some coffee grounds and say, thank you, and hey, good morning, whatever I
Mhm.
want to say and share, and put my feet in the grass and be able to receive all of that grounding energy. And now that it's nice outside, I'm doing that a little bit more, because
Right.
I did it a lot last year, and then we had winter and I'm allergic to cold, so I
Yeah.
don't go outside. So now I'm like, oh, I can put my feet in the grass again. um, but it is remembering that if you really want to feel like, as I'm listening to you describe your relationship with her, there's a part of me that's like, oh my gosh, I want that relationship with her. But it's really recognizing that it's mutual, that you're intentionally building a relationship. You're not just coming in to take the relief, the holding, the processing of grief. Yes, she will hold you in that space as well, but there is, just like any human relationship that we have, if every time I talk to you the only thing I was doing was dumping all of my shit at your door,
Right.
you're going to ghost me pretty quick. And I would do the
Mhm.
same for you out of love for both of us. But that is it, right? It's not that she's ever going to ghost us, but if we want to have that relationship where we're really feeling held and it really feels like a sacred relationship, then there needs to be a little bit of a different exchange there, where it's
Yeah.
like giving back, sharing love, being able to have those altars and remembering, I know when anytime we travel and we go someplace that has some history attached to it, which is everywhere, right? But
Hmm.
especially when it's somewhere we know, there's always a phrase, and I know Brandon always talks about like, imagine what this place has seen.
Hmm.
And yes, and I'm sitting here like, imagine the stories the earth holds. She's a secret keeper. She has been here since the beginning of time, and she has seen everything that has transpired in, well, the whole earth, but wherever we're visiting. And even the rocks are hold ancestral wisdom. The
Yeah.
crystals that we do hold the energy of the times. I mean, there's so much there that really is part of the earth and part of her element and part of what she brings to us. The monumental trees. I mean, they don't even have to be the great big ones. They're just the ones that have been in the yard for a long time, hold memory, hold grief, hold sorrow, hold joy, hold celebration. So I think, a lot of what the underlying that I hear with all of this is intentionally connecting to what
Yeah.
we have out there.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a perfect time to do it, right? We got the springtime, we got the good weather, and it's calling us outside. So it's a perfect time to start cultivating that relationship with the earth. I know over the winter I kind of intentionally tried to keep it up because I've noticed that during the winter well, this year I was outside every day, almost every day this winter, which I very rarely do. I have not done for years because I'm allergic to the cold too. But I found myself, and I've talked about this before. I found myself wanting. I had made the decision that I was not going to be depressed this year, and that was one of the things that I promised myself that I would do, and that was take a walk every day, and whether it was cold or not. And so I was out and you know almost, well, a couple of times below zero temps and out for my walk. And in that, I would find a tree and just touch the tree, or, trying, and just being outside in itself is just so healing for me that it helped me because I was doing it every day. Okay, I can't say every day, but I did it almost every day. Um, it helped me to stay out of that depression. And that was just being outside and
Mm-hmm.
going for that walk and getting that sunshine and being able to hear the nature around me and whatever. So I know that was one of the biggest things that helped me to stay out of, I added some other practices that I did, but that was probably one of the top things that helped me to stay out of that depression. And that was the healing energy that she has.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember too, and just like what you were saying, you didn't take off for hours and hours. We don't have to make this a huge chunk of time.
Hmm.
And, especially in the winter, the walks are shorter because it's cold.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
in and out.
definitely.
But even like for me, I don't always have, I mean, I don't live quite in nature like you do, but I'm not too far away from
Hmm.
really beautiful natural landscapes and lots of camping opportunities. And that's part of what I love with
Right,
motorcycles and everything. But I don't have to do that. Like, it doesn't have to be going away for a weekend or driving someplace for an hour away. Even if you live in a city and you're not near um, the great outdoors,
right.
it can just be stepping outside. It can just be looking at the tree down the street. It can be looking at the grass down below or in your yard or whatever that can be. Even when we see even people in high-rise apartments who have a little balcony and put plants on their
Plants.
balcony,
Hmm.
there's so much that we can do. And I do love the idea of bringing the earth into our home, but we also need to get out of that environment, right?
Hmm.
The walls close us in. We
Yeah.
need to get out where it's expansive as well, because that's also part of what Mother Earth brings us, is this ability to be expansive. And I think sometimes we forget that because we feel safe in our little home.
Mm-hmm.
And I love my home. It's a teeny tiny house. It has the best energy on the planet, I have decided. And I just love being in my home and in my space and in the energy that it holds. But it is still a space, it is still a container. And being able to get out is really allowing us to expand our mindset, expand our energy, expand our joy, get new creative thoughts and ideas around how to solve the problems that we have. Sitting inside our little box looking at the same four walls does not always lead to expansion. It can lead to some of the stress that we feel. It can lead to closed-mindedness. It can, even if we have earth in there, it can do that, where we start feeling like we're the only ones affected by what's going on. It's just about me, and we really get stuck in our heads and in that me space.
Yep.
Getting outside, connecting with the earth, doing the walks like what you're saying, or even just going outside and holding your hand up against a tree opens us up for expansion. It helps us remember that the shit going on in the world is not actually personal, and it's not just happening just to us, and all of the things that come with it. We get that knowledge and wisdom when we go outside. And
Exactly.
so I really love that too, that it doesn't have to be a big, long process. It doesn't need to be a year, once a year trip. It's those little teeny tiny daily things that make the big difference with that. Walking from my house to my truck and being able to step outside and notice the trees. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And if you think about it, um, when we, well, if you're going to go outside and touch the tree or touch the grass, or it's just like that quick, and that energy is just like you're grounded. I mean, it's not like it's anything. It doesn't take any amount of time. I mean, but it's best if you go out, if you're going to touch the ground, or ground, if you're purposefully going out to ground and you're putting your bare feet on the ground, then yeah, spend 5 to 10 minutes. But really, it just takes just that much time. It's like so quick that that energy just starts moving through, and she just grounds you immediately, and it doesn't take any amount of time. So, and that's some of the um, ways that we can connect with the earth too, right? Is that grounding, is the barefoot, putting your feet on the ground, or walking barefoot on the ground. And some people buy those barefoot shoes, so that they are not, because what happens is we have these rubber soles on our shoes. We have the concrete, we have our houses, we have all of these things that keep us ungrounded. They keep us away from the earth. And that, if you think about it, the indigenous peoples, they ran around barefoot, and people, even the kids, uh, um, our ancestors, they wore shoes, a lot of them, but the kids were running around barefoot most of the time, um, and that is what keeps you grounded, is always, it keeps you connected to the earth. And when we're not we're wearing those, we have our rubber soles, we're not connected to the earth, we're not thinking about the earth, then we've lost that connection, and we don't care about her anymore. We don't take care of her like we should. And you can see that, how our earth has been um pretty much destroyed. People are just, they abuse her so badly. And yeah, so by um not having that connection, where it keeps us in that state of not really having that care for her. And so, but yeah, there's, those ways that, we can do the grounding, we can do the, um, just digging in the dirt. And I love that. That's what I do with the mandalas when or the altars when I go out and I do like I'll do little altars all around. My property has little spots all around where I go out and I do little altars and I get on my hands and knees and I'm digging in the dirt, moving the dirt around, and my hands are all dirty and whatever. And it just is such a deep connection. It's a good way to connect with it, or just playing in the dirt or potting plants or whatever. That dirt is a good way to connect with the earth. So,
Hmm. I think so too. And as you were talking about what people have put her through, I was also thinking about how they're also missing the benefits as a
hmm
result, you know? So just remembering that, the more we litter or the more we deface or we do harm, that we're also removing ourselves from that nurturing energy that we have available at our fingertips.
right,
And yeah, I mean, even things like, speaking to Mother Earth, and it's, we can share so much with, this is what I'm going through and here's what's happening, and just pour your heart out. Like we don't do that a lot,
hmm
um because we're too busy and we just have to suck it up and deal with whatever is kind of the mentality. And it's like, no,
right,
actually we don't. We get to speak to her, we get to whisper those worries, we get to share and thank, and
hmm
really start noticing, thank you for the roof I have over my head and the solidity of the foundation beneath, just really being able to have that is just another way to connect with, I mean, she hasn't done anything to hurt me, so I'm not yelling at her, but I might
right,
go out and yell at
yeah,
what's going on,
yeah,
whatever it is that's upsetting me. Um, because I feel like if I blamed her, she'd be like, I didn't do any of that. Like, knock it off. Don't blame me for your crap. You
right,
made some stupid choices. You get to own that one. Like I have a feeling how she would probably throw that back through the wind or something. But that's what I love about it is she hasn't harmed us.
hmm
It's we many of us carry that mother wound, like we talked about in our last video, where we have had harm in one way or another from a mother archetype or a mother figure in our life, and this is one where we have not had that.
right,
And so, just kind of remembering that she is there in that way, and with an intentional speaking and whispering and sharing, that can come back. It's that exchange, right?
right,
Back. Um, and I think too, even I really just keep going back to, though, the listening and the intention and paying attention. The intention to pay attention is
hmm
a piece of that as well, because we can go for a walk in the park and be on our earbuds and be talking on our phone
yeah,
and not experience any. Of course we're still going to get some benefit, of course we are, because
hmm
that's there whether we're aware of it or not.
right,
But when we can disconnect from all of that and allow ourselves to just be in that spot and be intentional and pay attention and notice the changing of the leaves and notice that this time there's birds in there and I wonder if they have a nest and if they're always there or if this is the one time or what's going
hmm
on, like just really bringing that curiosity there. Even yesterday we were on a motorcycle ride and we rode by some beautiful blooming trees, and you could just really smell the
hmm
smell of the blossoms. Was so rich, even going quickly.
hmm
I wasn't speeding, I don't think, but quickly down the road, just being able to bring that in, that's part of being able to, that's your awareness, right?
hmm
Where it's part of the process. It's part of what I love about riding with motorcycles is I'm out, I'm in it, I'm swimming in it. I'm not caged in like I am a car, and just being able to smell the smells and feel the temperature changes and all the different things, and really having that awareness of, look at how beautiful this is.
right,
Thank you for providing this beauty for me today that I was able to experience. Like all of those things are just really cool ways to be able to connect with that energy and express gratitude too.
yeah, definitely. Another way is just like to sit, find you a tree, sit under the tree. I do that in the mornings a lot with my coffee, and lately it's been sitting next to the ancestor altar. But just putting my feet on the ground, sitting there, and just listening, and just drinking my coffee and just just enjoying, and you know, that's just part of the slowing down and part of the listening and allowing her to teach you and allowing her to nurture you in that way, because we need that. We need that slowing down. We need that quiet time. And so many of us don't get that.
Mhm.
And when we can, it's just like
Mhm.
um so beneficial for our soul.
Mhm.
Helps to move us into a different mindset and it shifts everything about us when we're able to um, connect in that way. And then, like I talked about earlier, the altars that I do, but you can create little altars all around. Some people, they do, what is it? What are the ones called where they stack the rocks on top of each
Mhm.
other,
I don't know, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and a
See
lot of
those all
people,
the time.
yeah, a lot of people do those, or you can do, the way that I do the little earth altars is, I either will sometimes I'll take river rocks that I've picked up on the river and just put them in a a certain, spiral or a circle or a, mandala form or whatever. And as I'm doing as I'm creating those, or I'm using sticks or I'm using flowers, and I talk to the flowers before I take the flowers. I ask them if it's okay, and I'll take the flower, or sometimes I use flowers that I buy from a store, because I usually buy flowers for the full moon ceremonies, or if I have flowers in my house or whatever, and they're getting older, then I'll take those out and I'll um, use those as an offering and create a cool little earth altar. And as I'm doing this, as I'm creating that, I'm saying my prayer, or I'm singing, or I'm thinking about or setting some intention, or I'm thinking, gratitude, or I'm thinking how much I appreciate being able to be here, or whatever it is at that time that's on my mind. I'm putting that intention into this little altar that I create, and then I just leave it. And then it's an impermanent altar. It's just something that I'm offering to Mother Earth as my gratitude to her, as my, as whatever I um, intention I set at that time, and so that's a fun way for me to um, to connect with her and to do so.
Well, and a lot of the ways and everything that we've been talking about really does go to bottom line. It's helping us to regulate our nervous system. It's
Exactly.
helping us to calm down, to turn
Mm-hmm.
inward, to relax. It's not about doing more. It's not about adding something to your to-do list. It's about removing stuff so you have time to connect and allow this. Like that is the whole thing that will shift our nervous system, is creating space and time, not so we can do more, not so we can overthink more, but so that we can have a calming within our bodies and within our nervous system, and really helping us reconnect to ourself,
Mm-hmm.
to your higher power, to your surroundings, to your friends and family, to those most, like, even the time alone that we take with the earth and connecting in this energy can really also help us have those ahas and insights with our most loved ones that can help clear up conflict without even having conflict. There's just so much that it can do for us that really builds that foundation for that inner knowing, that inner safety, that embodied wisdom, and just really kind of helping us create that even deeper connection in that way. All of these practices that we've been talking about can do those things as well
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah, definitely. And as we connect with her, it just kind of reminds us of our divine place in this web of life, right? How we
Well,
are so connected. Yeah.
it really is. And with everything that, like, just part of the whole ecosystem, like you were talking about, all of the elements, like the earth carries even fungus, that as we
Mm-hmm.
inhale some of that fungus when we're out pulling weeds, it actually helps heal our gut. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
so many things that are all part of all of this, that we're not separate. And
Right.
I think that's important. When we talk about going outdoors and being in nature, it's almost like it's something else. The reason we feel so good is because that's us.
Yep.
That's extension of us. We are nature. We are
Hmm.
animals. We are part of this earth. A lot of like what you've just said, but we're going home when we get
Hmm.
outside and we get in that earth, and there's something our body knows about that. So yeah, that reminder that we're not separate from, we're part of.
Yep. Exactly.
So is there anything else that you feel we should share before we start to wrap it up?
Oh, no. I could talk about this subject for days, probably.
I love it. I love it. I love how much passion you have for it. Um, but I also love how it's simple. It's
Hmm.
simple little things, and you have built that relationship over time with the earth using these practices, and we all can.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about it too is um especially when we're feeling disconnected and lost and like nobody listens and nobody hears us, and we start looking for someone else to come in and fill that, but we're expecting and putting that expectation on the other. I miss you, come see me. I want you to hang
Yeah.
out with me. You only stayed for whatever, like you're only here for this weekend. I haven't seen you in a month,
Hmm.
because we're putting that on the other, when in reality we can actually get that from earth, from nature, from ourselves, really finding that completeness in a separate way,
Yeah.
a new way.
And just remember that any of these practices that we talked about, or any way that you connect with her, is not there's no wrong way. And well, unless you're abusive, don't be abusive, right? But um as long as your intention is good and you are connecting, and it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to have a whole big ritual. Just go stand outside for a second and say, "Good morning, mother," you know?
And just choose one,
Yeah,
and it doesn't have to be the ones. You don't have to do the same thing every day, but don't feel like you have to go through and do every one of these options that we've provided today.
right,
Just
right.
choose one, the one that's like, oh, that's the easiest, or oh,
Yeah.
that one sounds fun, or
Mhm.
ooh, I kind of like, I want to try that.
Yep.
Just choose
Whichever
one.
one sings to you.
And I do like to say, do a different one. If you've always been doing this one thing, try a different
Mhm.
one,
Yeah.
just to see how it shifts and if you notice something different too.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, we do want to remind you as well that if you want more ways to connect with your with rhythm and your sacred self, we have a free Wisdom Within toolkit. So you can grab that in the description below. We'll link that for you so that you can really find additional ways to be able to reconnect with that wisdom within, with your inner self, your inner amazingness. This is one of the many ways. So grab that while it's
Yeah.
free as well down in the comments below or in the description below. And then really like challenge yourself to use this week. So, whenever it is that you're listening to this, apply one of these, use one of these this week. Slow down, touch the earth, and then come back here and tell us what you noticed. We'd really love to hear that from you as
Yeah, definitely.
well. Awesome. All right. Until next time.